5 years had passed since the fall of the Interstellar Council, and the galaxy barely recognized itself. The great crystal hall that had once housed the Council's iron rule now served a different purpose. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered there not to receive orders, but to share ideas. The circular table had been replaced with smaller groups scattered throughout the hall, where beings could meet, talk, and collaborate as equals. Dr. Sarah Kim walked through the bustling chamber. No longer a rebel broadcaster, but a simple facilitator helping species understand each other. She paused to watch a group of young beings working together on a holographic display. A human child, a Zephyrian crystal youth, a Mentari scout, and an Altarian poet. "What are you building?" she asked. "A new kind of school," explained the human girl, her eyes bright with excitement. "One that teaches students from different worlds together. We want to learn about each other's histories, sciences, and arts." "My people's crystal song mathematics," added the young Zephyrian, her form pulsing with gentle light. "Combined with human creativity and Altarian poetry, we can solve problems no one has even thought of yet." Dr. Kim smiled. This was exactly what they had hoped for when the revolution began. Not a new empire with different rulers, but a genuine community where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Across the hall, former Admiral Veltar sat with a group of engineers discussing trade routes. His forearms gestured excitedly as he explained how his military experience could help design safer shipping lanes. The beings who once followed his orders in fear now listened to his ideas with respect, free to accept or reject them as they chose. "Dr. Kim," a familiar voice called out. Captain Kreshtal approached, but his appearance had changed dramatically. Gone was the menacing black armor of the Council enforcer. Instead, he wore simple clothes and carried a small bag of tools. His compound eyes held a warmth that would have been impossible during his military days. "Captain," she greeted him with genuine affection. "How goes the rescue work?" "Wonderfully difficult," he replied with what passed for a smile among his species. "Yesterday, we pulled 17 miners from a collapsed tunnel on Kepler 7. The day before, we evacuated 3 colonies from a solar flare in the Tau Ceti system. Busy, but..." He paused, searching for words. "Meaningful. For the first time in my life, my strength serves life instead of death." Kreshtal now commanded the Galaxy Emergency Response Force, a volunteer organization that provided disaster relief across hundreds of worlds. Former military vessels had been converted into rescue ships, their weapons replaced with medical bays and emergency supplies. "The Council would never have allowed such a force," Dr. Kim observed. "They would have seen it as a threat to their authority." "Because it is," agreed Kreshtal. "When people see that help can come without strings attached, without demands for tribute or submission, they begin to understand what true leadership looks like." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the hall's center. Zephyra had arrived, but she wasn't alone. Trailing behind her was a magnificent structure of living crystal that seemed to sing with harmonic frequencies. "Behold," she announced to the gathered representatives, "the first cooperative stellar array, built not by Zephyrian hands alone, but with the help of 12 species working together." The crystal structure projected holographic displays showing star systems throughout the galaxy. But these weren't military targets or resource extraction points. They were gardens. "Dead worlds brought to life," Zephyra explained, her crystal form glowing with pride. "Sterile moons transformed into forests. Toxic atmospheres cleansed and filled with breathable air. This is what we can accomplish when our stellar engineering serves creation instead of destruction." A young human engineer raised her hand. "How many worlds can the array terraform simultaneously? With current resources? Perhaps 50 per year. But if we expand the network, if more species contribute their unique technologies..." Zephyrus' glow intensified. We could reshape the galaxy itself. Turn it into a garden worthy of all who call it home. Dr. Kim felt a familiar warmth in her chest. This was the dream that had started it all. A galaxy where beings worked together not because they were forced to, but because they chose to build something beautiful. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Some former Council loyalists had retreated to isolated systems, unable to accept the new reality. Pirates and raiders had emerged in the absence of centralized military control. Cultural misunderstandings between species had led to conflicts that required patient mediation. But for every problem, solutions emerged from unexpected places. Former enemies collaborated to solve shared challenges. Species that had barely spoken to each other discovered common interests. Most importantly, when crises arose, beings across the galaxy responded not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to help. Attention, friends, came an announcement over the hall's communication system. The afternoon cultural exchange is beginning in Hall 7. Today's theme is Songs of Home. Each species sharing music that represents their world and their dreams. Dr. Kim followed the crowd toward Hall 7, but stopped when she noticed a small group in a quiet corner. An elderly Altarian was showing holographic art to a mixed group of children from various species. The images were stunning, swirling colors that seemed to dance with life, geometric patterns that shifted like living things, and landscapes that existed nowhere in the physical universe but felt more real than reality itself. Before the council, the Altarian was explaining, "My people created art that could be felt as well as seen, art that touched the soul and inspired dreams. For 3,000 years, we were forbidden to share this gift. Now, we teach anyone who wants to learn." A Montari child raised a clawed hand. "Can you teach me to make feelings into colors?" "Of course, little one. Art belongs to everyone who dares to dream." Dr. Kim moved on, her heart full. In Hall 7, she found something that would have been impossible under the old order. Beings from across the galaxy singing together. Not in conquest or submission, but in celebration of what they had built together. The songs came in languages no translator could fully capture, but their meaning was universal. Hope, joy, belonging, love for worlds both lost and found. Dreams of futures bright with possibility. As the music swelled, Dr. Kim noticed movement at the hall's entrance. A group of newcomers had arrived, representatives from the Outer Rim territories, species that had never been contacted by either the Council or humanity. They looked uncertain, perhaps fearful. Without hesitation, children from a dozen worlds ran to greet them. Not with demands or ultimatums, but with flowers, drawings, and shy smiles. The universal language of young beings eager to make friends. "Welcome," called out Mayor Chun, now serving as one of many elected coordinators for the galactic community. "Would you like to join us? We're sharing songs from our homeworlds." The newcomers hesitated, clearly overwhelmed. But then one of the children, a young Zephyrian, whose crystal form pulsed with curiosity, began to sing a simple melody. It was wordless but beautiful, rising and falling like stellar wind through space. One by one, beings from across the galaxy joined in. Not the same melody. Each species added their own variation, their own interpretation. The result was a harmony more complex and beautiful than any single voice could achieve. The newcomers listened, their expressions shifting from fear to wonder. Finally, tentatively, they began to add their own voices to the chorus. Dr. Kim closed her eyes and listened to the sound of a free galaxy singing itself into existence. This was how tyranny truly ended, not with the crash of weapons or the fall of capitals, but with the simple choice to build something better together. Outside the hall, through transparent walls, she could see the stars. Each point of light represented worlds where beings were free to dream their own dreams, to build their own futures, to reach for the stars not as conquerors, but as gardeners. Humanity had not taken control of the galaxy. They had done something far more powerful. They had shown the galaxy how to take control of itself. The song continued, growing and changing as more voices joined. It would never end, Dr. Kim realized. Each generation would add their own verses, their own hopes, their own dreams of what was possible when beings chose cooperation over conquest. The Interstellar Council had ordered humanity to submit. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy how to be free, and in the crystal hall that now housed friendship instead of fear, the music of a billion free beings rose toward the stars, carrying with it a simple message that would echo through eternity. We are not alone. We are not afraid. We are free, and together, we will build wonders. The Council's response was swift and brutal. Within hours of Dr. Kim's broadcast, enforcement fleets moved toward a dozen rebellious systems. Their orders were clear. Restore order by any means necessary. Admiral Veltar commanded the largest fleet from his flagship, the Iron Decree. 200 ships followed him toward the Vega system, where the agricultural colonies had declared independence. He would make an example that would end this rebellion once and for all. Broadcast surrender terms, he ordered, as they approached the green worlds of Vega. 1 hour to submit, or we begin orbital bombardment. But the response that came back was not what he expected. Admiral Veltar, came a calm voice from the surface. This is Governor Martinez of New Vega. We have your terms. We respectfully decline. Then you choose destruction. No, sir. We choose hope. Across the vegan system, something beautiful was happening. The agricultural colonies had continued their daily work. Farmers tended their crops. Children attended school. Artists painted pictures of the vast fleets hanging in space above them. But they also did something else. They invited every ship in Veltar's fleet to visit their world. Come see what we've built, the message continued. See the schools where vegan children learn alongside human students. Visit the farms where new crops feed a dozen species. Watch our festivals where ancient vegan songs blend with human melodies. Veltar was furious. They mock us. Begin bombardment. But his weapons officer hesitated. Sir, I'm receiving reports from other ships in the fleet. Their crews are requesting permission to visit the surface. What? On the bridge screens, Veltar could see shuttle bays opening across his fleet. Ship after ship was launching shuttles toward the peaceful worlds below. His own crew members were filing requests for shore leave. Sir, said his second officer quietly, my sister lives on New Vega. She married a human farmer. Their children, my nephews, they're down there. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Veltar realized he was asking his crews to destroy their own families. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. The Council's enforcement fleets arrived at rebellious systems only to find their own crews reluctant to fire on worlds. They had come to see his home, on Rigel Prime. The crystal being Zephyra herself led a fleet to restore Council authority. But when she arrived, she found the Regilian engineers had built something impossible, a stellar collector that could harvest energy directly from their sun, providing unlimited clean power for the entire system. How did you accomplish this? She demanded during negotiations. We collaborated, replied Chief Engineer Turval. Humans shared their materials technology. Altarians provided artistic inspiration for the design, and vegans offered biological components for the energy converters. Together, we achieved what none of us could do alone. Zephyra stared at the magnificent structure orbiting Rigel's star. It was more beautiful and more efficient than anything the Council had built in centuries. She realized that by restricting cooperation between species, The Council had been limiting not just freedom, but progress itself. "Join us," Engineer Torval offered. "Help us build collectors around other stars. Imagine what we could accomplish with your expertise in stellar engineering." For a moment, Zephyr wavered. The temptation was enormous. To build instead of destroy. To create instead of control. To see what her people could achieve when working freely with others. But duty held her back. "I have my orders." "Yes," said Turval sadly. "But do your orders serve life or do they serve fear?" Meanwhile, the most dangerous confrontation was happening near the galactic core. The Zephyrian hegemony had deployed their ultimate weapon, stellar destabilizers capable of making stars go nova. If they couldn't control the rebellious systems, they would destroy them entirely. Captain Creshtal's ship was part of the blockade around the Zephyrian weapon platforms. His orders were to prevent any ships from interfering with the stellar engineering process. But as he watched the massive machines preparing to murder entire solar systems, he felt something break inside him. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "small ships approaching from human space. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The message was simple. "We know what you're planning to do. We won't let you destroy innocent worlds. We're coming to stop you, and we're not armed." Creshtal watched in amazement as dozens of small human ships approached the weapon platforms. They carried no weapons, no shields, no defenses of any kind. Just families, scientists, artists, and dreamers willing to put their lives between the Council's weapons and innocent worlds. "They're crazy," whispered his second officer. "They can't stop stellar destabilizers with unarmed ships." But they weren't trying to stop the machines. They were trying to stop the Zephyrians operating them. The human ships began broadcasting. Not threats or demands, but stories. Stories of what life was like on the worlds the Council was planning to destroy. Children's laughter from playground recordings. Students presenting science projects. Farmers singing while they worked. Artists creating beauty from simple materials. Most powerfully, they broadcast messages from Zephyrian youth living in human space. Young crystal beings who had discovered what it meant to create freely, to love without permission, to dream of futures their elders had never imagined. "Father," said one young Zephyrian, her crystal form glowing with emotion, "I know you're listening. I know you believe you're protecting our civilization. But look what we've built here. Look what's possible when we work together instead of controlling each other. Please don't destroy this. Please don't destroy hope itself." On the weapon platforms, Zephyrian operators began shutting down their machines. Not because they were ordered to, but because they couldn't bring themselves to destroy the futures their own children were building. The cascade had begun. Across the galaxy, Council authority collapsed not through military defeat, but through a simple realization. Their own people no longer believed in what they were doing. The Altarian fleet refused orders to suppress their homeworld's cultural renaissance. Vegan colonies declared they would feed anyone, regardless of political affiliation. Rigelian engineers offered to share their technology with all species, including their former oppressors. Even within the Council itself, cracks appeared. Younger members began questioning policies their elders had never doubted. Why did they need to control art? Why couldn't species choose their own governments? Why was cooperation seen as weakness instead of strength? The final blow came when Captain Creshtal made his choice. Faced with orders to fire on the unarmed human ships protecting the weapon platforms, he did something no Council enforcer had ever done. He switched sides. "All ships," he broadcast on the Council emergency frequency. "This is Captain Creshtal. I am ordering my fleet to stand down. We will not fire on civilians. We will not destroy worlds. We will not serve tyranny any longer." One by one, other Council ships joined him. Commanders who had served faithfully for decades, decided they could no longer follow orders that violated everything they had learned about right and wrong. In the Crystal Hall, the remaining council members watched their empire crumble in real time. Fleet after fleet was switching sides or simply returning home. Entire systems were declaring independence. Even their own member species were voting to leave the council. "It's over," said Zephyra quietly. Her crystalline form had lost its angry red glow, fading to a pale blue of sadness and acceptance. 3,000 years of order ended by children with dreams. Veltar slumped in his chair, his forearms hanging limp. How did we become the villains in our own story? The answer came from Dr. Kim's voice, still echoing through the chamber. You forgot that true strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. As the last council fleet stood down and the stellar weapons powered off forever, something new began to emerge from the chaos. Species that had been enemies for millennia reached out to each other with tentative offers of friendship. Worlds that had been isolated began opening their borders to trade and cultural exchange. The old order was dead. But from its ashes, something beautiful was beginning to grow. A galaxy where every being could choose their own destiny, where cooperation replaced coercion, and where the word freedom was no longer whispered in secret but sung from the rooftops of a chaos of 1,000 worlds. The humans had kept their promise. They had shown the galaxy what was possible when people chose hope over fear, love over power, and freedom over control. Now came the hardest part. Building a new civilization worthy of the dreams they had dared to dream. The council emergency session was chaos. 12 species that had ruled the galaxy in perfect order for thousands of years were now shouting at each other like children. 17 colonies, screamed Veltar, his forearms waving wildly. 17 different systems and not one has evacuated. They're hosting festivals instead of fleeing. Zephyra's crystal body flashed angry red. My sources report something worse. The Rigel system has declared temporary independence. The vegan colonies are refusing trade quotas. Even some of our own member species are asking questions. What kind of questions? Asked the jellyfish-like coordinator. Dangerous ones, replied another council member. Why do we need so many tribute ships? Why can't they choose their own leaders? Why are certain technologies forbidden to them? The insect-like enforcer clicked his claws nervously. It's just temporary rebellion. It always passes. We crush a few colonies, make examples, and order returns. Does it? A new voice entered the chamber. Dr. Sarah Kim materialized as a hologram in the center of the circular table. She was a small human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. The council members recoiled as if she were made of poison. How did you get access to our secure communications? Demanded Veltar. We asked nicely, Dr. Kim replied with a gentle smile. Your technician species, the Altarians, were happy to help once we explained what we wanted to discuss. Amazing people, by the way. Their poetry is beautiful. You corrupted our allies. We shared coffee and conversation. But let me save you some time arguing about security breaches. You called this meeting to discuss humanity's threat to galactic order. I'm here to explain exactly what that threat is. Dr. Kim touched something off-screen. Suddenly, the chamber filled with holographic displays showing star maps, population data, trade routes, and historical records. For the past 50 years, while you thought we were just building colonies and mining asteroids, we were actually conducting the largest anthropological study in galactic history. We studied you. The displays shifted to show detailed profiles of every council species, their histories, their conquered territories, their methods of control. We know about the Altarian art wars, where you banned their entire cultural expression for 3 centuries. We know about the vegan resource extraction, where you took 90% of their agricultural output and left them to starve. We know about the Great Suppression, where you destroyed the libraries of 47 worlds to prevent dangerous ideas from spreading. Veltar's voice was cold with rage. Those actions maintained galactic peace, did they? Because according to your own records, you've had to use military force to maintain control 93 times in 3,000 years. That's not peace. That's an occupied galaxy. Dr. Kim gestured, and the displays changed again. Now, they showed something that made the council members lean forward in shock. Detailed maps of resistance movements, secret communications between oppressed species, and underground networks of cultural exchange. The real revelation isn't that we studied you, Dr. Kim continued. It's what we found. Every species you control has been quietly resisting for generations. They've been preserving their banned cultures, maintaining hidden communication networks, and dreaming of freedom. They just needed someone to show them it was possible. Impossible, whispered Zephyra. Our intelligence networks monitor everything. Your intelligence networks monitor communications between governments and watch for military buildups. You never thought to monitor art galleries, recipe exchanges, or children's pen pal programs. The displays now showed a stunning network of connections spanning the entire galaxy. Human colonies weren't just trading with alien civilizations. They were facilitating cultural exchanges between species that had been deliberately separated by council. Policy. The Altarian poets have been sharing their work with vegan farmers through our education programs. The Rigel engineers have been collaborating with Centauri scientists on projects you told them were too advanced for their species. The crystal singers of the Andromeda sector have been teaching their music to anyone who wants to learn. Captain Kreshtal's voice came over the communication system. Dr. Kim, this is Captain Kreshtal of the Enforcement Fleet. I must ask, what is your endgame? What do you hope to accomplish? Captain, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the festival. Dr. Kim's smile was warm. Our endgame is simple. We want to live in a galaxy where species cooperate because they choose to, not because they're forced to. And if we refuse to allow this, then you'll have to enforce your rule through increasingly brutal methods against increasingly coordinated resistance. How many worlds will you destroy to maintain fear? How many cultures will you erase to prevent ideas from spreading? The displays changed one final time, showing projections of galactic civilization under continued council rule versus galactic civilization with voluntary cooperation between species. Look at the difference, Dr. Kim said softly. Under council control, technology advances slowly because you restrict research. Art stagnates because you limit cultural expression. Trade is inefficient because you control all routes. Population growth is stunted because you impose quotas. The projections showed stunning possibilities. Shared terraforming projects that could create garden worlds. Collaborative research that could unlock technologies beyond anything the Council had achieved. Cultural renaissance that could produce art and literature to inspire billions. Now look at the alternative. Free species working together, sharing knowledge, creating beauty, solving problems too big for any one civilization. Which galaxy would you rather live in? Veltar slammed his hands on the table. You offer chaos. Without central authority, species will war against each other. The galaxy will burn, will it? Because we've been testing your theory for 50 years now. Human space includes dozens of species working together voluntarily. How many wars have we had? None, admitted Captain Kreshtal quietly. But your region is small. It's growing every day. Not through conquest, but through invitation. Species are choosing to join us because they've seen what voluntary cooperation can accomplish. Dr. Kim stood up, her image becoming more solid somehow. Honorable council members, you have a choice to make. You can try to maintain control through ever-increasing violence, destroying everything beautiful about galactic civilization in the process. Or you can join us in building something better. And if we choose neither? Asked Azifra. Then you'll discover what we've learned about the true nature of power. Real authority doesn't come from the ability to destroy. It comes from the ability to inspire. And right now, across 1,000 worlds, your own people are watching this conversation and deciding what kind of galaxy they want to live in. As if summoned by her words, new holographic figures began appearing in the chamber. They were representatives from species across the galaxy. Altarians, Vegans, Rigelians, even some from council member worlds. "We stand with humanity," said an Altarian poet, her voice like music. "We choose freedom. We will no longer pay tribute to tyrants," declared a vegan farmer. "We choose cooperation. Our children deserve a better future," stated a Rigelian engineer. "We choose hope." The voices multiplied, filling the chamber with declarations of independence, statements of solidarity, and expressions of a dream the council had tried to crush for millennia. The dream of living free. Dr. Kim watched the council members' faces as they realized the scope of what was happening. This wasn't a military rebellion they could crush with superior firepower. This was something they had never faced before. An entire galaxy choosing to simply stop obeying them. "This is how tyranny ends," she said gently. "Not with a bang, but with a collective decision to build something better." In the Crystal Hall, surrounded by the voices of 1 billion beings demanding their freedom, the Interstellar Council finally understood what they were truly facing. The humans hadn't just said no to their ultimatum. They had convinced the entire galaxy to say no. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Council was powerless to stop it. The age of forced submission was ending. The age of chosen cooperation was about to begin. But first, the old order would have to decide whether it would fade peacefully into history or fight a war. It could not win against an idea whose time had finally come. The council ship moved through space like a predator hunting prey. It was massive, bigger than most space stations, with weapons that could level cities. Its dark hull absorbed starlight, making it look like a moving shadow against the stars. Captain Kreshtal stood on the bridge, his 4 insect-like arms working the controls. His species, the Mantari, had served the council for 2,000 years. They were perfect soldiers, cold, efficient, obedient. Kreshtal had destroyed 17 rebellious colonies in his career. This would be number 18. "Target confirmed," reported his weapons officer. "Kepler 442b, human mining colony. Population approximately 50,000. "Pathetic," said Kreshtal. "One of our patrol ships could handle 50,000 rebels. Why did they send a dreadnought?" "Council orders, sir. They want to make an example. Show the other human colonies what happens when you refuse to submit." Kreshtal nodded. The plan was simple. Arrive at the human colony, demand immediate evacuation, then destroy everything they had built. The survivors would spread word of council power to other human worlds. Fear would do the rest. But when they arrived at Kepler 442b, something was wrong. The mining colony should have been in panic. Ships should have been fleeing. Defense platforms should have been powering up weapons. Instead, the humans were sending them messages. "Unidentified vessel," came a cheerful voice over the communication system. "This is Kepler Colony Control. Welcome to our system. Are you here for trade, exploration, or diplomatic contact? We have coffee and fresh bread if you'd like to visit." Kreshtal's compound eyes widened. Coffee? Bread? Were these humans insane? "This is Captain Kreshtal of the Council Enforcement Fleet," he transmitted back. "You are ordered to evacuate this colony immediately. You have 6 hours to gather personal items and board transport ships. There was a pause. Then laughter. Oh my, said the human voice. That's quite a demand. May I ask why we need to leave? We've been here for 12 years. Built homes, families, lives. Our children were born here. Because the council orders it, Crestel said, his voice growing cold. Obey, or face destruction. I see. Well, that's unfortunate. Tell you what, why don't you come down for dinner? We can discuss this properly. Maria makes the best vegetable stew this side of the galactic arm. 7 o'clock local time, community center. Table for... How many are you? Crestel stared at his communication screen. In 2,000 years of service, no one had ever invited him to dinner during a military operation. Sir, whispered his second officer, what are your orders? Crestel found himself uncertain. The standard procedure was to begin bombardment if the enemy refused to evacuate. But these humans weren't acting like enemies. They were acting like hosts. Scan the surface, he ordered. Look for hidden weapons, defense systems, anything that explains this behavior. The scans came back normal. The colony had basic mining equipment, simple homes, a few small ships for local transport. No weapons bigger than hunting rifles. No shields. No hidden bases. It was exactly what it appeared to be, a peaceful settlement of families trying to make a life among the stars. Sir, they're broadcasting again, reported the communications officer. This time, it wasn't just one voice. It was many. Men, women, children, all talking at once over an open frequency. Hello up there? Are you the ones who destroyed that asteroid? That was amazing. My daughter wants to know what you look like. She's studying alien biology. We're having a cultural festival tonight. Would you like to see traditional human music and dance? Do you need anything? Fresh water? Food? Our engineers are pretty good. They might be able to help with ship repairs. Crestel felt something he had never experienced before. Confusion. These humans knew his ship could destroy their entire colony in minutes. They had seen the demonstration of council power. Yet they were treating him like a welcome guest. Maybe they don't understand, suggested the weapons officer. Their technology is primitive. Perhaps they don't realize what our ship can do. Test their knowledge, ordered Crestel. The communication officer opened a channel. Human colony, do you understand the capabilities of this vessel? Oh yes, came the immediate reply. We've been watching you for the past hour. Our sensors are basic but functional. Your ship mass is about 12 million tons, carries enough firepower to glass our entire continent, and your crew complement is approximately 4,000. Quite impressive engineering, by the way. We'd love to learn how you generate that much power with such a compact fusion system. The bridge fell silent. The humans did understand. They knew exactly how much danger they were in, and they were curious about it. Sir, the weapons officer whispered. Orders? Crestel stared at the peaceful colony below. Children were playing in the streets. Adults were setting up tables for their festival. Gardens bloomed around simple homes. It looked like any of 1,000 colonies across the galaxy, except for one thing. These people showed no fear. Send a shuttle, he heard himself say. I will speak with their leaders in person. Sir? His crew looked shocked. Council protocols forbade unnecessary contact with rebel populations. There is something wrong here, Crestel said. These humans are not behaving according to any psychological profile in our database. I need to understand why before I destroy them. The shuttle landed in the colony's main square just as the sun was setting. Crestel emerged wearing full battle armor, flanked by 6 armed guards. He expected to face desperate negotiators or frightened refugees. Instead, he found a welcome committee. Captain Kreshtal. A middle-aged human woman stepped forward with a bright smile. I'm Mayor Chun. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. The community center is right this way. She led them through streets lined with curious humans. Children pointed and waved. Adults nodded politely. A few asked questions about his homeworld, his species, his journey to their system. Not one person looked afraid. The community center was decorated with colorful banners and filled with the smell of cooking food. Tables groaned under the weight of dishes from dozens of worlds, not just Earth. These humans had traded with many species, learned their recipes, adopted their customs. Please, sit, said Mayor Chun, gesturing to a specially enlarged chair. We weren't sure about your physiology, so we prepared several seating options. Kreshtal sat slowly, his guards positioning themselves around the room. The humans ignored the weapons entirely, chatting among themselves about the day's mining yields and plans for expanding their school. Now then, said Mayor Chun, ladling stew into a bowl. You wanted us to evacuate our homes. May I ask why? Because you have defied the council, Kreshtal said. Because your species refused to submit to proper authority. Because you must be made an example. I see. Mayor Chun tasted her stew thoughtfully. And after you destroy our colony, what then? Will fear make humanity more likely to cooperate with the council? It has worked for 3,000 years, Kreshtal replied. Has it? A young man at the next table leaned over. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm a xenopsychologist. I've studied council records. In 3,000 years, you've had to crush 93 rebellions. That's one every 32 years. If fear worked, why do species keep rebelling? Kreshtal had no answer for that. The festival began after dinner. Humans performed music from their homeworld and from a dozen alien cultures. They told stories, shared poems, demonstrated crafts. They invited Kreshtal's guards to participate, teaching them card games and showing them how to make paper flowers. This is what we're fighting for, Mayor Chun said quietly as they watched children dance around the bonfire. Not territory or resources or power. Just the right to build something beautiful together. Kreshtal watched a human child teaching his youngest guard how to whistle. The hardened soldier was laughing, his mandibles clicking with amusement. You know I have to destroy this, he said finally. Do you? Asked Mayor Chun. Really? Because tomorrow my daughter will wake up and water her garden. My neighbor will teach his son to fix mining equipment. Mrs. Park will bake bread for the whole street. They'll do this whether you destroy the buildings or not. You can kill us, Captain, but you can't kill what we've built here. The idea of it will spread. Kreshtal left the colony that night more confused than he had ever been in his life. His crew was equally unsettled. The humans had treated them with such genuine warmth that several guards asked permission to return for the next festival. Back on his ship, Kreshtal stared at the target screen. One missile would end it all. But something held him back. Sir? Asked the weapons officer. Your orders? Kreshtal was quiet for a long time. Below, the lights of the colony twinkled like stars. Somewhere down there, children were sleeping peacefully in their beds, dreaming of tomorrow's adventures. We wait, he said finally. Send a report to the council. Tell them the situation requires further analysis. It was the first time in his career that Captain Kreshtal had disobeyed a direct order. He told himself it was for tactical reasons. But deep down, he knew the truth. The humans had done something impossible. They had made him care. The great crystal hall floated in space between three suns. Inside, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. This was the Interstellar Council, and they were angry. The humans must be stopped, said Veltar, a tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "They are spreading too fast across our galaxy." The other council members nodded. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Every species obeyed them. Every planet paid them taxes. Every ship followed their rules. But now these new creatures called humans were causing problems. "Look at this data," said Zephyra, a being made of living crystal. Her body sparkled as she spoke. "In just 50 years, they have built colonies on 47 worlds. They ignore our border laws. They trade with whoever they want. They act like they own space itself." An insect-like creature with sharp claws tapped the table. "My scouts report their ships are crude but fast. Their weapons are simple but deadly. They fight like they have nothing to lose, because they don't understand what they face," said another council member. This one looked like a floating jellyfish with glowing tentacles. "They are young and stupid. We must teach them their place." Veltar stood up. His forearms spread wide. "The council has decided. We will give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, we will show them why every species in this galaxy fears us." The message was sent to Earth the next day. It traveled through space faster than light, carried by quantum waves that could cross the galaxy in hours. The message was simple and clear. To the species called human, it began. "You have entered council space without permission. You have built colonies without paying proper taxes. You have ignored the laws that keep peace in our galaxy. The council orders you to submit to our rule. Accept our governors on your worlds. Follow our population limits. Pay your tribute in resources and workers. You have 30 Earth days to answer. Refuse and face the consequences." To show they meant business, the council destroyed an asteroid. The rock was the size of a small moon, floating alone in empty space. 3 council warships appeared beside it. They fired once. The asteroid turned to dust in seconds, scattered by weapons that could melt planets. The council broadcast this destruction to every human colony. The message was clear: obey or die. On Earth, President Maria Chun watched the recording in her office. Around her sat the leaders of humanity's government. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. A few looked thoughtful. "They want an answer in 30 days, said General Park, head of Earth's Space Forces. "Our best ships couldn't fight even one of theirs. If they bring a fleet, we're finished." "Maybe we should negotiate," suggested Dr. Williams, the science advisor. "Find some middle ground. Accept part of their demands." President Chun was quiet for a long time. She looked out the window at the blue sky and white clouds of Earth. Children played in a park below. People walked to work, laughed with friends, lived their lives in freedom. "Call a meeting," she said finally. "Every colony governor, every ship captain, every settlement leader. I want to talk to all of them." The meeting happened 2 days later. Holographic images of humans from across the galaxy filled the conference room. There were miners from asteroid belts, farmers from green worlds, scientists from research stations, and families from frontier planets. President Chun told them about the council's demand. She showed them the destroyed asteroid. She explained what would happen if Earth said no. "They want us to be slaves," she said. "They want to control how many children we can have. They want to take our resources and our people. They want us to bow down and never stand up again." "But they're so powerful," said Governor Martinez from New Texas Colony. "Their ships could destroy us all." "Yes," said President Chun. "They could. But being able to kill doesn't make you right. Being stronger doesn't make you just." Captain Sarah Kim spoke from her exploration ship near the galactic rim. "What are you suggesting, Madam President?" President Chun smiled. It was a small smile, but it held something the council had never seen before. "Something dangerous. I'm suggesting we tell them no. And then what? Asked someone from the mining colonies. Then we show them what humans are really made of. The debate lasted for hours. Some colonists wanted to fight. Others wanted to run. A few wanted to hide. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. They would not bow down to bullies. The answer was prepared carefully. Every word was chosen. Every human colony voted on it. When it was ready, President Chun herself recorded the message. She sat in a simple chair, wearing a simple blue dress. Behind her was a window showing Earth's horizon. She looked directly into the camera and smiled that same small, dangerous smile. To the Interstellar Council, she began. We have received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands. We have seen your demonstration of power. Thank you for being so clear about who you are and what you want. She paused, her smile growing wider. We respectfully decline to submit to your authority. Earth and her colonies will remain free. We will continue to explore, to grow, to live as we choose. We invite you to join us as friends and equals. But we will not serve as your slaves. She leaned forward slightly. You destroyed a rock and thought you were showing us your strength. You were actually showing us your weakness. You can only rule through fear because you have forgotten how to lead through respect. That ends now. The message was broadcast on every frequency humanity knew. Every council ship in human space received it. Every alien species heard it. The message spread across the galaxy like wildfire dot in the crystal hall. The council members stared at their screens in shock. Veltar's forearms shook with rage. Impossible, whispered Zephyra. No species has ever said no to us. They will learn, snarled the insect-like member. We will teach them fear. But as they watched the human woman's smiling face, something cold touched their hearts. They had expected begging or bargaining or tears. They had not expected this calm confidence. They had not expected that smile. For the first time in thousands of years, the Interstellar Council felt uncertain. These humans were not acting like any conquered species they had ever known. The war was about to begin. But it would not be the war anyone expected.